Be ready. 15 seconds. I wish to thank my fellow countrymen for the confidence reposed in me and for affection and goodwill they have shown me not only as president but indeed all through my public life covering a span of over 50 years. As you are all aware, during my term as president, it fell to my lot to examine and decide constitutional issues, the like of which none of my predecessors had been called upon to face. Constitutional experts may have differences of opinion about the correctness of some of my decisions, but the people, by their verdict, approved of the way I had dealt with the situation. Having regard to the background against which the general elections to the Lok Sabha in January 1999 were conducted, I felt a special responsibility in the matter and was anxious to ensure that elections should be free, fair, and peaceful. It gave me immense satisfaction that the government at the center and in the states and administration at all levels, both in the center and in the states, ensured that the elections conducted were as free and fair as were earlier. While the lamp of democracy has been extinguished in some countries around us, we have reason to feel pleased that we have adopted and have been following the democratic system of government. Our people have made it clear beyond doubt that they will not accept abrogation or abridgment in human rights and freedom and have shown their clear preference for the democratic system. Democratic form of government is rule by reason and by persuasion. We should always endeavor to arrive at as much of consent as possible. The voice of the minority and the voice of the opposition, which too represents a sizable section of the people, should be heard and given all possible consideration. The opposition on its part has to be reasonable and constructive in its approach. Whichever party may be in power, there must be an opposition that can expose the mistakes and misdeeds of the ruling party so that the latter at any moment of providing an alternative to the party in power is the only safeguard against misrule. It is a matter of regret that over the years a united opposition which can provide an alternative to the party in power has not evolved. In the absence of a strong opposition, work of the government is not challenged. Democracy is not just a political system, a mere facade of elections and an assembly of elected representatives is not the totality of its content. It is essentially civilized conduct of human relations and affairs. Restraint and moderation, understanding and accommodation, decency and uprightness are the basic values that go to build a sound democratic system. If we ponder over the country's political scenario and examine how far our conduct of public affairs is inspired by these qualities, we can have little cause for satisfaction. As I have said, our people have shown a clear preference for the democratic system. But if we make a mockery of it, will the public, whose disillusionment is daily growing, accept this state of affairs for long? I have often spoken about disparities in income and wealth distribution, a phenomenon which came to government's notice over 20 years back and led to the appointment of a committee to inquire into the matter. Disparities have become accentuated since then. Concentration of wealth, apart from its socially undesirable consequences, has disturbing implications for the working of our democratic system, which I need not elaborate. While there is little doubt that large investments for development over the successive 5-year plans have added to the country's wealth for the majority of our people, there has been no marked improvement in living standards. Per capita availability of essential commodities has been fluctuating and has not shown any significant improvement. Per capita income at current prices has been increasing, but at constant prices there has been little improvement. That the cost of living has relentlessly been going up is borne out by the government's own action in increasing the rates of dearness allowance twice or thrice in the course of a year. I am not unaware of our many achievements since attainment of independence. Near self-sufficiency in the matter of food, large industrial capacity in capital, intermediate and consumer goods, enormous improvement in transport, power and other basic requisites, rapid strides in science and technology, including such sophisticated areas as nuclear power and space technology are creditable achievements. A nation that has achieved so much in the short span of 50 years gives promise of ability to bring about a better life for the mass of its people. Critical examination of the investments already made with a view to maximizing the benefits from the time and priorities to be followed hereafter need to be undertaken so that there may be visible improvement in the living condition of the poor. Above all, we must realize that positions of power and authority are places of public held in that spirit only.